Stars glittered like diamonds against the black canvas of space as the UES horizon cut through the void. The year was 2157, and humanity had only recently taken its first tentative steps beyond the solar system. Captain Elaine Winters stood on the bridge, her gray eyes fixed on the main view screen where the unusual energy readings from Alpha Centauri pulsed in rhythmic patterns. "Any changes, Officer Reeves?" she asked, brushing a strand of brown hair from her face. "Communications officer." Alan Reeves shook his head, fingers dancing across his console. "Nothing yet, Captain. The signal remains consistent, but we still can't identify its source." The UES Horizon was Earth's pride, a sleek exploration vessel built to showcase humanity's technological achievements. Its hull gleamed under the light of Alpha Centauri's twin stars as it pushed deeper into uncharted territory. "Dr. Rogers, any theories?" Winters turned to the ship's chief scientist, a lanky man with glasses who rarely looked up from his data. Dr. Gary Rogers finally lifted his eyes from his tablet. "It's artificial, Captain. No natural phenomenon creates patterns this regular. Someone or something is broadcasting." A hush fell over the bridge. Everyone understood the implications. After decades of searching the stars, they might be on the verge of first contact. Lieutenant Maria Diaz at navigation leaned forward. "Captain, I'm detecting a spatial distortion forming directly ahead." The view screen showed empty space suddenly twisting, folding in on itself like a piece of crumpled paper. The stars behind it stretched and warped. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Shields up, yellow alert," Winters ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Before them, space tore open in a flash of blue light. Through this wound in reality emerged a massive ship that dwarfed the horizon like a whale beside a minnow. Its surface wasn't metal, but something crystalline that seemed alive with light and energy, changing colors as they watched. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander John Baker, the first officer. "It must be at least 2 miles long." Officer Reeves stiffened suddenly. "Captain, they're sending a transmission, audio and visual." Winters straightened her uniform jacket. On screen. The view screen shifted, now showing what appeared to be a command center far more advanced than their own. Standing, or perhaps floating at its center, was a being unlike anything human eyes had seen before. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but with 4 arms and skin that shimmered with an inner light. Its face featured 6 eyes arranged in a pattern that gave it a 360-degree field of vision. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, lights pulsed across its throat. "Attention, insignificant species. You have entered territory overseen by the Galactic Council of Elder Races. Your presence has been noted and evaluated. You are now subject to Council authority." The voice sounded artificial, likely translated by their computers. It carried no emotion, just cold authority. Captain Winters felt her mouth go dry but maintained her composure despite the shock rippling through her crew. "Open a channel," she ordered. Officer Reeves nodded, his fingers trembling slightly as he established the connection. "This is Captain Elaine Winters of the United Earth Explorer vessel Horizon. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and mean no harm." The alien's eyes blinked in unison, the motion strangely unsettling. "I am Consul Vexthar, representative of the Galactic Council. Your species is now recognized as a Level 3 developing civilization. As per Council decree, all Level 3 species must provide appropriate tribute to demonstrate their understanding of cosmic hierarchy." Winters exchanged a quick glance with Baker, whose face had gone pale. This was not the first contact scenario. They had trained for daughter. Lieutenant Commander Darius Powell, the ship's tactical officer, checked his readings and whispered urgently, "Captain, their weapon systems are beyond anything in our database. They could destroy us with a thought." Winters gave a slight nod, acknowledging the assessment while maintaining eye contact with the alien diplomat. She chose her words carefully. "Consul Vexthar, we have no prior knowledge of your council or its decrees. My vessel represents only one nation from our world. Earth's governing body would need to be consulted before any agreements could be made." The alien's skin darkened, perhaps indicating displeasure. Consultation is unnecessary. The Council's authority is absolute across all charted space. Your species will provide tribute or face correction protocols. The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees at those words. What form of tribute do you require? Winters asked, trying to buy time. That is for your species to determine, Vex's Thar replied. The nature of the tribute reveals the worth of the species. You have 30 Earth days to prepare suitable offerings demonstrating your submission. A delegation will arrive at your homeworld to collect. Baker stepped forward. And if we refuse? All 6 of the aliens' eyes focused on the first officer. Refusal is not an option available to Level 3 species. Those who resist face reclassification as non-sentient resources. The implication chilled everyone who heard it. Before Winters could respond, the transmission ended abruptly. On the view screen, the massive alien vessel began to glow with increasing brightness. They're powering something up, Powell warned, hands hovering over the weapons controls. Hold fire, Winters ordered sharply. Absolutely no aggressive actions. The alien ship flashed blindingly, then vanished, leaving behind only a fading blue afterglow and a series of shockwaves that buffeted the horizon like a leaf in a storm. Damage report, Winters called out once the ship stabilized. Minor systems fluctuations, but we're intact, reported Chief Engineer Sofia Garcia through the comm. Whatever they did created some kind of temporal displacement wave. Our chronometers are off by 3 minutes. Captain Winters took a deep breath, her mind racing with implications. Get me Earth Command priority channel and pull everything we have on first contact protocols. She turned to Dr. Rogers. Doctor, I need you to analyze every piece of data we collected. I want to know who these council members are, what their capabilities are, and what the hell they mean by tribute and correction protocols. As the bridge crew rushed to follow her orders, Winters sank into her command chair. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on her shoulders. The face of the alien diplomat, cold, powerful, utterly alien, burned in her memory. Set course for Earth, maximum speed, she ordered quietly. We need to get home. Now. Ears. The UES horizon turned and accelerated away from Alpha Centauri. A heavy silence filled the bridge. No one voiced what everyone was thinking. That in those few minutes, everything had changed for humanity. They were no longer alone in the universe, and their first neighbors were not coming as friends. The clock was ticking. 30 days until judgment. 3 days after the UES Horizon's return to Earth, the Geneva International Conference Center buzzed with nervous energy. Security forces from every major nation stood guard as world leaders filed into the main chamber. The emergency summit had been called with only hours of notice, and rumors spread like wildfire through the gathered diplomats, military personnel, and scientists. Inside the main hall, the air felt thick with tension. Rows of seats formed a semicircle around a central podium where Admiral Frank Donovan now stood, his weathered face grave. At 62, the Admiral had seen wars, natural disasters, and political crises, but nothing had prepared him for this. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his deep voice carrying throughout the hall without need for amplification. Thank you for responding so quickly to this unprecedented situation. Behind him, a massive screen displayed an image of the alien vessel that had confronted the UES horizon. Even as a still image, it looked impossibly advanced. 3 days ago, the UES horizon encountered a ship belonging to what calls itself the Galactic Council of Elder Races. He paused, letting the words sink in. This was not a friendly first contact. A murmur ran through the room. Some faces showed disbelief, others fear. The alien representative demanded that Earth provide tribute within 30 days or face what they called correction protocols. Donovan's face hardened. Based on our analysis of their technology, we believe this is a threat of planetary scale. The room erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions while others sat frozen in shock. President Carmen Rodriguez of the North American Alliance raised her hand, and gradually the noise died down. Admiral, she said, her voice steady despite the circumstances. What exactly do they want from us? Donovan nodded to a woman seated in the front row. Dr. Leah Griffin, our chief xenoanthropologist, can better answer that question. Dr. Griffin rose and walked to the podium. Her simple gray suit and calm demeanor contrasted with the anxiety filling the room. She adjusted her glasses and faced the assembly. The Galactic Council appears to operate on a strict hierarchy, she explained, using a laser pointer to highlight parts of the alien ship on the screen. Their entire civilization seems built around power structures and classifications. They've labeled Earth as a Level 3 developing civilization, which essentially means we're viewed as primitive. New images appeared on the screen, diagrams and analysis of the brief communication. The demand for tribute is both practical and symbolic, Griffin continued. They want resources, yes, but more importantly, they want our submission. The specific form of tribute was deliberately left vague because part of their evaluation is seeing what we choose to offer. So they're testing us? Asked the European Union's Chancellor Weber. Exactly, Griffin nodded. Choose a tribute too small and we demonstrate disrespect. Choose wrong, and we show a lack of understanding of our place in their hierarchy. Either could trigger these correction protocols. Intelligence Director Nathan Cole stepped forward next. Tall and thin with piercing blue eyes, he carried a tablet computer which he connected to the main display. We've analyzed the limited data from the encounter, he said. While the information is incomplete, we believe the Council dominates at least 17 different spacefaring species across multiple star systems. Their technology appears to be centuries beyond our own. The screen showed a comparison between Earth's most advanced technologies and what little they had observed of the alien vessel. The difference was staggering. From the back of the room, General Owen Harris stood up. With his buzz cut and square jaw, he looked every bit the military man he was. So, what are our options? He demanded. Do we just roll over and give them whatever they want? Offer our people as slaves? If we refuse, outright we risk extinction, Dr. Griffin countered. The technology gap is too great for military resistance. The room divided quickly. Some leaders argued for immediate cooperation, offering Earth's rarest resources as tribute. Others insisted on preparing for war, regardless of the odds. A few suggested trying to hide or deceive the Council somehow. As the debate grew heated, a young woman rose from her seat near the middle of the hall. Linda Pearson was only 34, a junior diplomat from the North American Alliance. Her ordinary appearance made her easy to overlook, but when she spoke, her clear voice cut through the noise. What if we're approaching this all wrong? She asked. The room gradually quieted. The Council clearly expects either fearful submission or pointless resistance, Pearson continued. They've encountered this pattern before with other Level 3 civilizations. What if our response was something they've never seen before? Dr. Griffin looked intrigued. What do you mean? Pearson moved to the center of the floor. Dr. Griffin, you said their society is built on hierarchy and power, and Director Cole, your analysis suggests they've conquered or subjugated other species. They probably expect us to either fight or surrender. That's generally how it works when you're facing someone with overwhelming power, General Harris commented dryly. For individuals, yes, Pearson agreed. But humanity isn't just a collection of individuals. Throughout our history, when faced with seemingly impossible challenges, our greatest achievements came not through raw power, but through cooperation and innovation. She turned to address the entire assembly. The Council sees us as weak, because they measure strength only in terms of technology and resources. But what if we showed them a different kind of strength? President Rodriguez leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting, Ms. Pearson? I'm suggesting we offer them something unexpected, Pearson replied. Not gold or uranium or our servitude, but a demonstration of humanity's greatest strength, our ability to work together despite our differences. The room fell silent as people considered her words. A pretty speech, General Harris said finally, but how does that translate to action? The aliens want tribute, not philosophy. Dr. Griffin's eyes lit up with understanding. No, she's right. The Council is testing us, evaluating what kind of species we are. Our response needs to demonstrate our worth in a way they haven't anticipated. For the next 5 hours, the debate continued. Scientists proposed technical solutions, military leaders outlined defense strategies, and politicians argued over who should represent Earth. As the sun set over Geneva, President Rodriguez called for a final vote. "We have 27 days left," she reminded them. "Whatever we decide must be implemented quickly and with absolute cooperation." The leaders of Earth's nations looked at each other, ancient rivalries and modern tensions still simmering beneath the surface. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Earth would respond to the Galactic Council, but not with surrender or futile defiance. They would show these ancient aliens something they had perhaps never seen before, a young species that understood its true strength. As the summit concluded, Admiral Donovan looked out at the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, powerful beings were counting down the days until they would return to judge humanity's worth. He hoped the decision they had just made wouldn't be humanity's last. 27 days, he whispered to himself. Let's hope that's enough time. The 7 massive council ships emerged from hyperspace with a flash of blue light that briefly outshone the sun. They arranged themselves in a perfect heptagon formation around Earth, each vessel positioned with mathematical precision. Their crystalline hulls shimmered with internal light, changing colors in patterns that seemed almost alive. From the main viewing deck of the United Earth Defense Command Center in Geneva, President Carmen Rodriguez watched the alien armada with outward calm. Inside, her heart hammered against her ribs. Everything humanity had worked for over the past month came down to the next few hours. Around her stood Earth's highest military commanders and political leaders. Admiral Donovan stood to her right, his weathered face betraying nothing. General Tao Harris was on her left, tension visible in his clenched jaw. Behind them, hundreds of staff manned stations monitoring every aspect of Earth's unified systems. "They're hailing us," announced Communications Director Heidi Watson, her fingers dancing across her console. "All frequencies, all languages." Rodriguez straightened her jacket. They had rehearsed this moment countless times, but nothing could truly prepare them for real first contact with a civilization that might view them as little more than insects. "Put it on the main screen," she ordered, her voice steady despite her fear. The massive central screen came alive, showing the interior of what appeared to be the Council's lead vessel. The command center made Earth's most advanced technology look primitive by comparison. Surfaces glowed with symbols that moved and changed without any visible controls. Energy patterns flowed through the air like colorful rivers. At the center stood Consul Vex Thar, the same alien who had first contacted the UES Horizon. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, and the internal lights beneath his skin pulsed with changing patterns. Behind him stood representatives of other species, all wearing elaborate ornaments that probably signified their status in the Council hierarchy. "Humans of Earth," Vexus Thar began, his artificial voice echoing through the command center. "The Galactic Council has arrived to receive your tribute and formalize your status within the cosmic hierarchy. Present your offerings for evaluation." President Rodriguez stepped forward. The cameras focused on her would broadcast her image to the Council ships and to every screen on Earth simultaneously. "Consul Vexus Thar," she began, her voice clear and diplomatic. "On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this opportunity to introduce ourselves properly to the galactic community." The alien's multiple eyes narrowed slightly, a gesture that the xenobiologist suggested indicated suspicion or perhaps surprise. "Your gratitude is noted. Present your tribute now." Rodriguez maintained eye contact with the alien, though it was difficult with his multiple eyes. "Of course. Our response has been prepared with great care." She nodded to General Harris, who pressed a sequence on his command console. This activated the system that humanity had built with such remarkable speed and cooperation. Every human communications system activated simultaneously. From orbital platforms to ground-based transmitters, from military vessels to civilian networks, a single word was broadcast directly to the Council ships in multiple formats. Cooperation. Confusion visibly registered on the alien faces. Several of the Council representatives in the background leaned toward each other, their skin colors shifting rapidly. Consul Vexithar tilted his head. You offering in a word? This is unacceptable. Perhaps you misunderstood. President Rodriguez interrupted him. Something that the cultural experts had warned was risky but necessary. With respect, Consul, we understood perfectly. Please observe. She gestured to Admiral Donovan, who activated the second phase of Earth's response. At that moment, every human vessel and installation throughout the solar system executed their carefully choreographed demonstration. The defensive platforms around Earth reconfigured themselves in perfect synchronization, forming new patterns without a single collision. The fleet of ships near the moon moved in absolute unison, creating complex three-dimensional formations that would be impossible without perfect coordination. On Earth, power grids normally operated independently suddenly linked together, balancing energy loads across continents. Communication networks merged into a single unified system. Even traffic in major cities suddenly flowed in patterns that, when viewed from above, created meaningful symbols from a dozen different human cultures. We offer neither submission nor defiance, Rodriguez explained as the demonstration continued. Instead, we demonstrate humanity's greatest strength, our ability to cooperate, to work together toward common goals despite our differences. As she spoke, holographic projections activated in orbit around Earth, visible to the Council ships. These showed humanity's history, different nations coming together after conflicts, international scientific achievements, global responses to natural disasters. The images were carefully chosen to show humans at their best, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners working together. While individually we may be weak by Council standards, together we represent something unique, Rodriguez continued. Our tribute is not a physical offering, but a demonstration of what makes humanity valuable to the galactic community. On the screen, the Council representatives conferred among themselves, clearly unprepared for this response. Their skin colors shifted through various patterns, and their multiple limbs moved in what appeared to be formal gestures. Finally, Consul Vexthar addressed them again. In 3,000 cycles, no species has responded this way. You offer neither resources nor servitude. We offer partnership, Rodriguez replied firmly but respectfully. Throughout human history, we have learned that true strength comes not from domination but from mutual respect and cooperation. If the Council seeks only subjects, we would make poor ones. But if you seek allies who bring unique perspectives and adaptability, humans would be valuable indeed. The demonstration reached its climax as thousands of separate systems across Earth and space performed a synchronized action that created something beautiful, a symphony of technology and human ingenuity that even the advanced Council could appreciate. A long silence followed. The entire command center held its breath. If the Council rejected their response, the defense systems would activate, though everyone knew they would be hopelessly outmatched. Then, remarkably, Consul Vexthar made a gesture that their xenobiologists had not seen before. His 6 eyes blinked in unison and his upper limbs formed a pattern that seemed almost like a salute. Interesting, he said finally. Perhaps we have been hasty in our assessment. The Council will need to reconsider humanity's classification. A ripple of cautious relief passed through the command center, though no one dared celebrate yet. We would be open to further discussion, Rodriguez offered. Perhaps an exchange of knowledge rather than tribute. This possibility will be considered, Vexthar replied. The Council will deliberate. We will contact you with our decision. The transmission ended, and the Council ships remained in formation, though subtle changes in their energy signatures suggested intense activity within. Admiral Donovan turned to President Rodriguez. What do you think? Are we safe? Rodriguez watched the alien vessels carefully. I don't know, but I think we've surprised them, and that's something. For the first time, they're seeing us as something other than just another primitive species, to be dominated. General Harris finally allowed himself a small smile. Who would have thought our greatest weapon would be a single word? Not a weapon, Rodriguez corrected him gently. An invitation, and I think they're considering accepting it. As Earth waited for the Council's response, a new sense of unity prevailed across the planet. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, not by fighting or surrendering, but by showing what made them truly special: their ability to set aside differences and work together toward a common goal. What no human could know was that this encounter would ultimately reshape the very foundation of the Galactic Council itself. The concept of cooperation as strength would slowly begin to challenge thousands of years of hierarchical thinking, spreading from species to species like a benevolent virus. It had begun with a simple message, one word from humanity that would echo across the stars for centuries to come: cooperation. The morning sun pushed through the blinds of the North American Defense Command Center as Captain Alan Brooks sipped his third cup of coffee. 6 hours into his shift, and nothing unusual had happened, just the way he liked it. "Sir, I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Gary Wilson, his voice cutting through the quiet hum of the command center. Brooks set down his coffee cup and walked over to Wilson's station. "Define strange, Lieutenant." "Energy signatures, sir. Massive ones. At the edge of the solar system, just beyond Pluto's orbit." Wilson's fingers flew across his keyboard, bringing up more detailed readings. "They just appeared out of nowhere. 1 second nothing, the next." He gestured at the screen showing dozens of red dots arranged in a perfect triangle formation. Brooks felt his heart rate quicken. In 15 years at NADC, he'd never seen anything like this. "Alert Level 2, get me a direct line to General Peterson." Within minutes, the quiet command center transformed into a hub of controlled chaos. Technicians rushed between stations. Communication officers reached out to other defense centers worldwide. Brooks stood in the middle of it all, watching as more information poured in. "Sir, the objects are moving. They've changed course and are heading directly toward Earth," Wilson called out. "Current speed suggests they'll reach lunar orbit in under 3 hours." Brooks nodded. "What about size estimates?" Another technician, Samantha Lee, looked up from her station. "The largest object appears to be roughly the size of Manhattan, sir. The smallest is still bigger than our largest aircraft." "Carrier." The room fell silent for a moment as everyone processed this information. "Are they responding to our hails?" Brooks asked the communications officer. "No response on any frequency, sir. We've tried everything from basic radio to quantum channels." Brooks picked up a secure phone. "This is Captain Brooks at NADC. We need to activate Protocol 7 immediately. Yes, I understand the implications. No, this is not a drill." Dr. Lisa Ward was asleep when her phone rang, after working 18 hours. Straight at the Global Defense Initiative Xenobiology Division, she had collapsed into bed just 2 hours ago. "Ward," she mumbled into the phone. "Doctor, this is NADC. You need to come in immediately. Your clearance has been temporarily upgraded to Omega level." Lisa sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. Omega clearance meant only one thing: first contact. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said, already pulling clothes from her dresser. The drive to the facility took 17 minutes, every second. Her mind raced through possibilities. For years, she had studied potential alien biology and technology, creating models of how non-Earth life might evolve and develop. Her papers on defensive preparations against potential hostile species had been largely ignored or filed away as interesting but speculative. As she cleared security and entered the main analysis lab, she found it filled with military personnel and fellow scientists, all gathered around the main display. "Dr. Ward," said General Peterson, a tall woman with steel-gray hair. "We need your expertise." The general brought her to the central screen, which showed the approaching fleet. The vessels were unlike anything Lisa had ever seen. Crystalline, structures that seemed to shift and change as they moved, connected by threads of energy that pulsed with an unknown power source. "These formation patterns," Lisa said, pointing to the screen. "They match what I described in my paper on potential invasion tactics." She pulled up her research on a nearby terminal. "See here. The triangle formation maximizes both defensive coverage and offensive striking capability. This isn't an exploration fleet or a diplomatic mission." General Peterson nodded grimly. "That's what we feared." How much of your theoretical defensive measures can we implement in the next 2 hours? Lisa looked at the data scrolling across multiple screens. With what we have ready, maybe 30%, but it might be enough to buy us time. In the small town of Oak Ridge, Ohio, retired military engineer Frank Miller was enjoying his morning routine. A simple breakfast, followed by coffee on his porch, watching the birds at his feeder. At 67, he had settled into a quiet life, far removed from his days working on classified military projects. His peaceful morning was interrupted when every phone and electronic device in his house began to emit the emergency broadcast signal. Simultaneously, Frank picked up his tablet and watched as the president's press secretary announced that unidentified objects had been detected approaching Earth. While his neighbors began calling each other in panic, Frank felt an odd sense of calm wash over him. He walked to his basement, unlocked a hidden panel behind his tool bench, and placed his palm on the scanner hidden inside. The wall slid open, revealing a small room filled with outdated-looking computer equipment. Frank sat down at the main terminal and entered a long sequence of codes from memory. The screen lit up with the words, Project Sunburst, dormant status, last access, 12 years ago. Frank began typing rapidly. Few people knew that Project Sunburst even existed anymore. A planetary defense system developed decades ago, it had been deemed too expensive and unnecessary to maintain. Rather than dismantle it completely, the government had simply let it go dormant, eventually forgetting about it as administrations changed and priorities shifted. But Frank had never forgotten. As one of the original engineers, he had built in a backdoor that allowed him to keep the system updated, even in its inactive state. Working nights and weekends for years, he had upgraded the software and maintained the network of satellites and hidden weapon platforms. Always prepare for the worst, he muttered to himself as he initiated the system diagnostic. The screen showed 94% operational status, not perfect, but far better than the 0% everyone in the government would expect. At the International Space Station, Navy Commander Olivia Patterson received direct orders to board the experimental defense platform, Aegis, that orbited nearby. The Aegis was officially listed as a weather and communications satellite, but was actually a prototype defense system with limited weapons capability. Within an hour, Patterson and a small crew had transferred to the Aegis and brought its systems online. Commander, we're receiving a transmission, reported her communications officer. It's coming from the approaching fleet. Patterson straightened her uniform. Put it through. The screen in front of her flickered, then displayed a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to shift between colors. The being wore an elaborate uniform covered in symbols that the translation software couldn't process. People of Earth, the alien said, its words translated with a slight delay. I am Grand Admiral Zorax of the Galactic Imperium. Your planet has been selected for colonization. Your resources and population will serve the Imperium well. You have 6 Earth hours to surrender all military capabilities and prepare for integration into our empire. Patterson kept her expression neutral. This is Commander Olivia Patterson of Earth's United Defense Forces. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we do not surrender our sovereignty. Perhaps we can discuss. The alien cut her off with a gesture. There is nothing to discuss. Your planet will make an adequate colony for our expanding empire. Your technology level is primitive. Your defenses are minimal. Resistance would only result in unnecessary destruction. The alien's eyes narrowed. 6 hours, Commander. Then we begin our approach regardless of your decision. The transmission ended abruptly. Patterson looked at her crew, their faces showing mixtures of fear and determination. Send everything we just received to Earth Command, along with all sensor data on their fleet. She turned to look out the viewport at the blue planet below. And may God help us all. Back on Earth, as government scrambled to respond and civilians began to panic, the pieces of humanity's defense were quietly falling into place, pieces that the approaching Imperium had no way of knowing existed.